Good morning, Jen.
Good morning.
Welcome to the What's the Temp podcast. My name is Betina, and I am coming in hot.
My name is Jen, and I'm checking in so I don't check out.
I love Jen's check-ins. So
I do check out very easily, so I really desperately need to check in regularly.
So today's episode is called The Productivity Rebellion. One of the things we're excited to share with you is, well, for me, is that I realized this week that one of the most productive things that I've done lately was absolutely nothing. Can you believe that with me? Like, can you believe that?
I don't really know how to envision it, honestly.
I'm just not talking about meditation or mindfulness or any of the trendy wellness things, practices that people do. I'm talking about unapologetic laziness. I was lazy this weekend. I watched boxing without multitasking. I slept in without guilt. I did nothing. And surprisingly for me, it just unlocked a more creative breakthrough than months of grinding ever did. So today I'm going to share with our audience why my to-do list or your to-do list might be sabotaging your success and how strategic laziness might become your secret weapon. Stay tuned for that. Let's get into our temp checks, Jen. Rate your current ability to be strategically lazy without shame.
I always think I'm ready for it, but then you just added without shame.
Yeah.
So now I have to reconsider. 44 outdoor.
Ooh, cool.
It doesn't have to do with shame. It just has to do with the failure of my strategy.
Yeah.
So last night had all of the ingredients for a perfect night. There was a football game, live football game that started early. It started at 7, which is amazing because I can never make it through the first quarter. So I had the football game, which I could have gotten through minimum first half or more. I had Indian food. I had ice cream cake.
Okay.
And I had nothing to do. So that's all the perfect ingredients of a perfect night. And I extended it to myself on a silver platter and then didn't take it.
Oh.
I know. So my strategy failed. I angled for it and then I didn't deliver it to myself.
Yeah.
So the reason why is because of my phone. I was multitasking.
Oh.
So instead of enjoying each bite of my delicious ice cream cake from Herschel's birthday, I was caught up in the idea that because it's my birthday on Saturday and because I recently decided to have people over for it, we don't have enough towels in the house. And then I went down a rabbit hole of trying to find the perfect beach towels for all of my friends, meaning just a pack of beach towels that I could order because we only have 2 in the house. And I thought, well, we need minimum of 6. And I lost the night to just going down a rabbit hole on Amazon trying to find a soft cotton beach towel in bulk. Can you believe I traded in my delicious night for such a low price item?
You know, a term came to me recently that I've been selling my destiny for cheap.
Yeah.
So you were destined for a great night at home with your family with all the perfect elements, and you traded it for cheap. We got to start taking the moment. Because that moment was set right in front of you and you could have just created some amazing memories. And plus you like football. Like we're sports girls. So
I'm honestly so disappointed in myself. Like I'm not often disappointed in myself, but that did disappoint me because normally I don't let my phone hijack me in that way.
Yeah,
and
especially at night. You guys are good about that.
Yeah, I only had a couple maybe an hour and a half window before I was too tired to function anymore. And I traded it in. And the price tag was so high.
Something I would have done was set a timer, a 10-minute timer. Said I'm going to look. If I don't find what I'm looking for in 10 minutes, I'll try it again tomorrow and give myself 10 minutes then. Like set a timer so that you don't have to sacrifice the entire night. You know?
I don't know where the time went. I go into a time vortex often.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just disappointing, and I just have to start over again. I can't harp on it, but it's sad. Because then I was just, after I was finished ordering the towels, I was just way too tired to honestly function. I was doing bites of ice cream cake in between looking for these towels, and it's like, this is just not enjoyable. Multitasking is not enjoyable because I'm not even tasting. And I noticed that yesterday. I ran upstairs to grab one of my favorite snacks, my apple pretzel cheese plate, and I took it down to my desk to eat it while I was working, and I was just thinking, I'm not tasting this apple. I'm not enjoying this pretzel.
Oh.
Isn't that horrible? I'm just missing my own life. That's how I feel recently. So I'm struggling to create these moments of repose, and then I'm not able to step into them. And that's something I want to change.
It's so interesting because I'm very different. Like, I don't work to intentionally create that, and I feel like I even sometimes avoid the moments of repose. And I'd like to, though. I'd like to be intentional about that. So maybe that's something we can both do. I just avoid it, and you can set it up and still not step into it.
I get distracted really easily.
It gets hijacked from you.
Yes. So it is what it is. I think what I'm learning from it is just I have to put my phone in the other room, and I really want to try to do better at just focusing on one thing at a time.
Yeah.
So that's my temp. It's low, and that's it. What's your temp?
My temp is low as well. I'm going to go with oven temp, and it's 100 degrees. You know how when you first turn on the oven and it's just coming on? Because the temp check is to rate your current ability to be strategically lazy without shame. Come on. My oven should be off. Come on. You know me. I have two brothers, and I call them narcs, not because they snitch, but I call them narcs because they both have narcolepsy. I personally diagnosed them, but it's because they work and work and work until their bodies just give out. And so it's all we know. So it's like when they finally sit down, they both have businesses and they both have full-time jobs and they both have families. And so they just go and go and go. So you could be having a conversation with them, and as long as they're on their feet, the conversation is very engaging. But the moment they sit down, checked out, fallen asleep, right? And it's not because of laziness or, anything, but their body is like, I need to take this 15 minutes and sleep because he won't do it. And I am kind of the same way, except mine isn't like theirs. Like, I have a very structured way that I run my day. I get a sufficient amount of sleep at night. But it's like, if I'm awake, I'm going. If I have time, it's being used for something productive. If you call me during the day, like if I'm working and I say, hey, Jen, I got 10 minutes if you want to go over X, Y, and Z. If it's not something where I need to take notes on, I'm going to get up and say, oh, let me freshen the kitchen while I talk to Jen. I'm going to always be doing something, because you can get caught up on a phone call and you're just sitting when you could have been washing dishes, you could have been folding laundry, you could have been cleaning the toilet. I'm not even kidding. I go until my body says I'm done. And when I've taken those weekends, it hasn't been by choice in the past. It's been because my body said, I'm tired and you won't listen to me. And so I'm going to make you lie down this weekend. And so when I say my oven is off, it's just being turned on. And the reason I'm saying it's turned on is because this weekend I took one of those weekends, and I want to talk about it. But it's a very, very new concept to me. I personally find a way to use every moment that I have. And I want to be able to do that. This word balance has been coming up in the last couple of episodes. And I'd love to see myself have a little bit more balance around the way that I use my time, the way that I always talk about showing up as 100%, but am I 100% if I'm washing dishes when we're talking?
That's yeah. That
Am
was my thought
I
while you were saying that.
Am I 100% if I'm freshening up the bathroom? Now, I feel like the bathroom cleanup is mindless and I'm
Mm.
giving you the bulk of my attention, but is it 100%? Is the 100% portion that I love to tout actually true?
Yeah.
So it's that. And it's really, these conversations are really making me look at things in a non-fragmented way, and it's kind of bringing the whole story of me together in the process. Isn't that
Hmm.
interesting?
Yeah. Because I do notice that pattern with you where you typically will kind of work yourself to the bone and then you will crash and then you will
Mhm.
take a weekend sort of reluctantly or because you've been forced into a state of submission by just the fact that you burned out.
Mhm.
So it would be interesting to see what that looks like on a less, opposite extremes level.
Right.
Where
So
where it was a different episode where you said you were gonna schedule rest. So you
right.
were gonna use your scheduling abilities to build in rest.
And I've tried it, I just didn't like it. It's like, shouldn't I
Why
stick
didn't you
something
like
in? I
it?
just didn't like it. It feels like
Why?
it feels uncomfortable. It's like there's nothing, I don't have enough stuff on my project management. So what I did was with the software, it's like, okay, I have to let me leave room for these things. So remember, like we talked about in the past about how I had Wednesdays for friends. I had something scheduled that had to be done, but I was leaving lunch open. I left early afternoon coffee open. I left evenings open. And so when I moved, Wednesdays were still open. And I was like, well, I don't want to fill up my Wednesdays, but let me stick this over there. Ooh, I could use this block of time for that. Instead of bringing that same practice here to another state with me, I figured out a way to fill the time up with things to do. And I feel like in the back of my mind, it's speaking to value right now.
Speaking to value?
Yeah.
How so?
Value, how I value myself.
Oh. Say more.
It's just kind of speaking to, or am I still dealing with what I thought was unworthiness? I thought I had completely
Right.
dealt with that, but is it creeping up into the way that I'm working? And this is something I'm working through in real time. But is my worth being measured by how much I'm producing?
Ugh. Question of the century.
Yeah. So
Question
I
of the
guess
century.
time will tell, and I guess the rest of this conversation will tell, won't it? Willy won't he?
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you touched upon that because I have been thinking so much about is my striving for productivity a substitute for worthiness?
Mhm.
So let's get into it.
Yeah. The backstory for today is supporting each other in resisting the glorification of busy. And have you heard that phrase before? Because I had to look it up.
No, actually.
Okay, so defined, the glorification of busy is a societal trend that portrays constant activity and a packed schedule as a status symbol and a sign of productivity, success, and worth, often leading to stress, burnout, and neglecting well being. It stems from the cultural assumption that more activity equals more value, making people feel inadequate if they have free time or aren't constantly engaging in something perceived as important. How sad does that sound? And who does that describe?
I noticed that it describes the busiest people I know are unemployed. That's what I've noticed since I remember one time when I was living in New York City when
Mhm.
I was in my 20s, and my really good friend had this roommate who was just every time she came through the door, she was so exasperated by how incredibly busy she was. And we would always just find this such a paradox because she doesn't work. So we were like,
Mhm.
what is she doing? Because we felt so the opposite. We felt like we were so locked in by our 9 to 5 that once we got out of work, we just wanted to come home and drink a beer and chill. And then she was just
Mhm.
always running around, always running around. And I do think that there is something to this concept that you just defined. Because my dad is like this. I know that it was partially from my dad. I think partially I got it from societal conditioning, but I also think I got it from my dad. So I'll ask him what he thinks about taking a nap in the middle of the day because I find that so incredibly luxurious. And
It
he says, "Oh,
is.
that would be shameful." He would never take a nap in the middle of the day. He wouldn't even get into bed if he was sick. And I've
Wow.
noticed the same thing about myself. Again, when I was living in New York City, this one time I was really, really sick and I couldn't get to the couch. I just could not get to the couch. And then there was this, I don't really get sick that often, but I had to become basically deathly ill to even make it onto the couch to do
Wow.
nothing. So it's similar to the way that you are, where I wouldn't stop unless my body just absolutely shut down and forced me to stop. And I think that that is still working on me in nights like last night. I mean, every woman I know at least cannot sit down on the couch until the kitchen is clean.
Yeah.
So there's something about, if you see something, you have to do it. But
Yeah.
then even when I get to the couch, I can't seem to just do nothing. So
Yeah.
I don't know where it's coming from, but it's a really interesting concept. Is this a substitute for self-worth? Is it that you feel like you have to prove yourself? Is it that you feel like you're not good enough? So keeping busy, even if it's just that keeping busy, either you could be trying to prove something to the outside world by saying, "Oh my gosh, I have so much to do. I'm so like, in other words, I'm so important." But
Mm.
then are you also just proving it to yourself that you have to keep moving and you have to keep earning your keep? Like you have to earn the right to be here, to exist.
I'm not being productive to prove something. It's that my life isn't what I want it to look like right now, so I need to use my
Mhm.
time wisely. It's wasteful to just sit. That's how I think about it, and maybe it's this all or nothing thought process with me where it's like either you're doing something or you're not. That's why the realization that I had this weekend was so profound, and I can't wait to share that later. But it's almost like I can't get comfortable if I haven't done all that I can to position myself for better. But busy keeps
I get
coming
that.
up.
I get that
Busy
because
keeps coming
you're
up.
saying you can't afford to waste time because you're in a place where you're not happy with your current life and you have goals.
Yes.
And you it's like you have to try to do things that have an orientation towards the goals that you want to achieve because you feel that you're running out of time almost. Like you want to
Yes.
get into a place while you still have a lot of life to live and you want to establish yourself, and you also, just more importantly, don't want to be here. So you got to make moves. I get
Right.
that.
But I also don't understand how people can sit comfortably in that space where they don't wanna be or where they're not comfortable.
Oh,
I
I
don't
understand that. It's
understand
because they're
that.
comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah, I
They
can't do
don't
that.
they don't think that they deserve better than this, and this is what they know, and so therefore it's easier to stay put than it is to try to make a change. But my question for you is, would it benefit you to also build some flexibility into the productivity, or do you feel that you need to maintain a certain level of rigidity because of concepts like flow, et cetera, where you will be losing out so much, like maybe to not have every hour of the day scheduled,
Right, and so
to
that's
be able
the
to build in a flexibility where, like what you've been saying, someone calls and says, "Hey, let's go out to dinner." And it's like, yes, you had your research period scheduled for that time, but you could shift that around, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So what's been happening is, okay, say if Misty calls or just sends a text and says,
Oh,
"Hey."
you're gonna name or you're gonna name
Oh,
drop
I
her.
love Misty,
I
and
love
she loves
Misty.
the podcast.
I love Misty.
But if
Red
she
OG
calls, yeah, she's an
Misty.
OG. But if she calls or sends a text and says, "Hey, we're doing such and such this weekend at such and such a time," then what I love is she'll do that 3 days in advance or a week in advance or
Oh,
even the
well,
day
that
before.
doesn't count.
It does, but, like, it's like she knows me, like, she gets it. She's like, "Okay, Bettina's gonna need a little if you want her to show up, she's gonna need a little bit of
She
extra
needs
time. She
some
needs
runway.
advance notice. Give her something." And so she'll do that, and even if she says, "Hey, we're doing such and such at 4:30 today," that's usually on a weekend where my time I can play with a little time. I can kinda do a mix up, and say, "Oh, well," but the thing is, I get to her house and it's like the black hole. I love it there and never wanna come home. So,
Mm.
I'm there till the end of the night. So then it's like, okay, what can be moved since she said we're gonna do it at 4:30 today, what can be moved and what has to be done today and get done what has to be done today, and then everything else can be moved over until tomorrow. Or I can fit somewhere else in my weekly schedule. But it's the give me a runway. I need it's like I love the idea that she cares enough to say, "Hey, I get it." But I also have because we've been friends for over a decade now, I understand that you can't always give a runway. I understand that a lot of your conversations take place in the car. Sometimes I'm so excited to talk to you too that it's like, is what I'm doing so, you know, intricate, or am I so involved in it that I can't take this little call? And then I have to think about, okay, how long is this call going to take? Is it going to knock me all the way off what I'm doing? So there's just differences. It's times that I just have to evaluate it in the moment with you. It's rare that I don't answer your call, but when I don't answer, it's because I am in flow and I cannot.
But what if I called you and said, I want to make a request of you today? Today, I just want you to take your schedule and throw it out the window. And it's a Tuesday, it's not a weekend. And I just want you to do nothing all day. How
I
would
would
that make you
ask you
feel?
if you hate me.
Whoa.
Do you just
Why?
hate me?
Why? What would that be making you feel?
Because first of all, if my time is the most valuable asset that I have, you're telling me to throw the most valuable asset that I have in the trash for the day?
But doing nothing is not throwing it in the trash. That's what this episode is about. It's about the removing the glorification of busyness and embracing strategic laziness.
Yes,
So what
but
if there was value to the doing nothing? Would
I
you
I
still?
only found that a little bit this weekend, but there would still have to be a level of planning. I know that sounds crazy for me.
What?
Because then I would say, what am I gonna ruminate on in those times?
What? What?
What am I gonna ruminate on? Because if I'm gonna
Why?
spend the time doing nothing, at least we're gonna ruminate. Like, what? I mean, my hands might not be busy, but this brain, what?
I want you to take your hands off the reins and see what happens.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, I don't
That's
know.
what I want. I'm thinking you're so not a Sagittarius. You know how Sagittarius or Sagittarii are known for being really spontaneous and just fly by the seat of their
Yeah,
pants?
not at all.
I want to see you mix in just a little bit of that spontaneity.
Oh, I don't know.
It could be
Everything is
liberating. You
planned.
never know. You never know.
I don't know. I don't know. And maybe, again, this is the balance conversation. Here's the thing. What I used to do in my home, the room itself was a trigger. So my dining room was converted to my office. My living room did not have a television because I feel like if you're here, if I'm having company, this is for conversation and engaging. It's not for television. My bedroom was where the television was. That was for chilling and vegging out. The living room was to hang out, read, just really just pour into myself. Even research took place in the living room. My bookshelf was in the living room. And of course, the kitchen. So it's like I set up each room for a specific trigger. If I sat down at my desk chair, it was on. It was on. It was as if I walked into, what do they call those rooms where the president goes in when there's a danger, like a national danger? It's like you go into that room, the blinds come down, it's on. That's my control center.
Hmm.
And I
Control
knew what
centers,
it
right.
was. I would sit at that desk and I knew what it was. And when I got up, it was because I was done or because it was break time. But I did not eat at my desk because the two just didn't seem to go together. Yeah, so it's like a trigger for me. And I'm looking forward to getting back to that because I feel like when you work from home, that's necessary. Like you have to know that when I walk into my bedroom, that is where all of the work stuff is shed. I don't even think about work stuff in my bedroom because that was my haven. That was the place to decompress and to shed all of the work thoughts and stuff. So it's interesting. It's interesting. But this conversation, I feel, is going to help tremendously because I feel like the balance is so necessary.
Let's transition into the life focus question because I do want to hear you're teasing me about your breakthrough, so I obviously do want to get to that part. But the life focus question is reclaiming laziness, boredom, and unproductive time as essential for creativity and breakthrough. How are you going to pivot into that?
This past weekend, there was the Canelo and Crawford fight, which I had put.
Herschel watched it.
Oh my gosh. So we're a boxing family. My mom was a boxing fan. So we grew up watching boxing in the 70s, 80s, and 90s at its height. We just kind of felt like these last couple decades of boxing have just been kind of meh. It just didn't have the hype and the excitement of past heavyweight fights and things like that. But somehow, even though these were not heavyweight boxers, somehow Dana White and Turkey, the Sheik Turkey, they were able to just kind of bring boxing back to the hype that it used to be. And they did it on the platform of Netflix and all of this. So I remembered calling my mom and I called her phone and she answered and said, "Are you watching the fight?" And I'm like, "I was calling to see if you were watching it," right? And we're girls. That's what's funny about this. We're complete ladies. When you say, I just chose to do nothing. Nothing for me is a whole lot less than what I do on normal weekends. I gave myself the grace and luxury to just take a couple days off, mostly. When guilt wanted to creep in, I reminded myself that I deserve a day off. Like, I deserve a day off. I deserve to watch the fight without multitasking. It allowed me to get revelations on things that I've read recently, things that I've watched recently, things that I've listened to recently, and get my own revelations on those things and just create new neural pathways that I just didn't think. I didn't think that the time off would do that. You couldn't have told me that that would have happened with me. And it just helped me to get a little deeper understanding and have some revelations on the why behind the what, all the what that I'm doing. How it turned out was the boxing match wasn't just entertainment. It was like research because I remembered so you know how when they're leading up to introducing the fighters, right? And they're telling the history. So it's like you're looking at Bud Crawford and it looks like this is an hour or 30 minutes of time, but he's been working for this moment since he was 8 years old and he's 35 now. So it gives you a new appreciation for how long it takes sometimes to achieve that moment of great victory. Yes, there are small victories along the way, smaller ones, bigger ones, da da da. But for this was like a crowning moment for him because everyone was saying that he had never fought anyone of any reputation in the past because it wasn't like I said, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s with boxing, everybody had to fight everybody. You fought anybody to get that title. It didn't matter. You didn't run from a fight. And now what happened in the last like 20 years, people got to choose, like, I don't want to fight him. That's not the route I want to take. That's going to be too hard. And Ali didn't say Ali would fight anybody. Um, Tommy Hearns would fight anybody. So it's just interesting to see how to him this was his crowning moment because Canelo was like Mount Rushmore for him. It was fighting the best of the best of the best. And I like both those guys. I like them both. But to see that and to look at the strategy and the approach and then to just be able to look at it, compare it to my own challenges, like, gosh, this stuff that I'm working towards, I've been working towards my whole life. So what if this is going to be my crowning achievement? What if this is going to be the culmination of everything that I've learned, everything I've suffered through, everything that I've lost, everything that I gave up, everything I walked away from? What if this is going to be the crowning moment that I'm looking for? And so I can't quit. I just let my brain build the bridges between the things that we've talked about in the podcast, the books, just the conversations. And I've absorbed it, but I never fully integrated it, if that makes sense.
Ugh, you and I are so unbelievably different. Like, you want to get in the ring.
Yeah, with everything.
Yeah.
With everything. Like, I'm going to climb the mountain. The
Yeah.
mountain is not going to defeat me. I'm going to look at that mountain and say, who do you think you are standing in my way? I need to get to the other side. And if I got to climb you to get it, I'm going to get there.
So I want to ask you a question because it's really so alien for me to hear you talk about this. Not because I don't know how you are, but it's just so incredibly different to how I am. Like
Mm-hmm.
my goal of every single day of my entire work career, including this current job, is to get all my work done as fast as possible so I can do nothing. Like, not
Mm.
nothing literally, but so I can basically stop doing work. Like, I wanna just get my whole
Mhm.
job done as fast as I can so that I can be off the hook. And sometimes that just means, for example, yesterday, I got my work done basically 25 minutes before work ended, and so I went
Mhm.
outside and I sat on my new patio and I did absolutely nothing. And that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that I'm doing nothing, it just means I'm open to this experience. So
Yeah.
what it turned out to be is that I was sitting there and I was looking at the trees that are on my neighbor's yard, which is very close to my yard, and I was noticing, and I've known this for a long time, but I was just noticing that his window is really overlooking this patio in a way that I'm not loving and have never loved. But I was
Mhm.
just thinking, I wonder what type of trees I could put there, and I was just kind of daydreaming about plants. And that was a
Mhm.
really cool place to be instead of being in front of my computer making up work to try to fill in the rest of the day, which is what a lot of the people that I work with at this company would have done. I was like, I'm not going to make up work. I'm going to go and I'm going to sit
Right.
outside and ruminate, as you say. But here's my question for you, because sometimes I do wonder what it would be like to be someone who really wants to excel and has that intensity and that drive. But I do think that I suffer from using productivity as a measure of success. Like, I'm not
Mm.
successful today unless I have checked these amount of things off of my to-do list. But I was listening to this Tim Ferriss podcast this morning. It
Mhm.
was an interview with him and Tara Brach, and
Mhm.
something that he mentioned is he was struggling with integrating more spirituality into his life because he was afraid that if he were to let his guard down and if he were to go too much into acceptance, meaning kind of what you were talking about of acceptance of your current situation, that he would lose his edge. Now, do you
Mm.
feel, so my question for you is, do you feel when there comes to a crossroads in any given day where one task has ended and there's another task that's scheduled, and then if I were to come in and say, hey, trash your schedule, do nothing, is there any fear there that if you were to stop striving, you would lose your edge, like the competitive edge that you seem to be striving for with all the books and the scheduling and the mastery pursuit? Is there fear here?
I don't think so. I don't think I know what nothing is.
Hmm.
That sounds crazy.
Like you don't know what that looks like.
I honestly don't.
Huh. So is it fear of the unknown?
I don't see it as fear. I don't,
Hmm.
because if you say do nothing, okay, I'm going to read a book.
That's not doing nothing.
Okay. Okay, so let me tell you how I watch television. I watch
Is it
an episode of
strategic?
Scandal for lunch.
Okay.
I'll watch like, and if my lunch is an hour and a half, I'll throw in another.
It's scheduled, in other words.
Yeah. Yeah. And then if I'm in bed and I'm just not sleepy, I'll turn on TV.
Mm.
I'm just not sleepy. That's when I'm like, I'll play a game on my iPad while watching a show. But to sit there and watch a show and not have my hands doing something, I'm really searching myself to see if there's fear. I guess it's fear of settling for something I absolutely do not
Mhm.
want.
Mm.
Because if you're telling me to do nothing, like don't work at making this happen, doing how I see, okay, so what's coming into my mind right now is that we're human beings and not human doings. That just hit me in this second. But I was thinking about giving God something to work with. And then before I said that was we're human beings, not human doings. So if I would just be, then he's going to do his thing no matter what.
Mhm.
So I came up with a system over this weekend of what would it look like if I scheduled strategic lazy blocks similar to those Wednesday blocks that I had. And if I scheduled, I don't know, just a 15-minute block in every day, a 20-minute, maybe a 30-minute block, and which is 30 minutes is an eternity. That's a
Mhm.
lot of my schedule. But if I scheduled a 30-minute block into each weekday, where I did nothing. I don't know what nothing looks like because in my mind, I'm thinking as I'm saying this out loud, I could read a chapter in that book. I could walk. I could take a walk, but that's working towards my weight loss. I could plan. I don't know what nothing looks like. So when I'm saying
'Cause you can't
schedule,
stop.
I don't know what nothing looks like. So what I looked at was scheduling strategic lazy blocks where the only goal is to have no goal.
Mm.
And
That
I
would be a big
just
ask for you.
that's a big ask
Yeah.
because to have no goal, to me, I
Your
don't know what it
brain would
means to
not know what to
sit there and
do.
do
Yeah.
nothing.
Your brain would keep driving at something, having a goal
Yeah.
of some kind.
Yeah. So I don't know if somewhere I was conditioned to think if I'm not producing, I'm not valuable. Um, but I did start thinking this
That's what I
weekend,
would wonder.
what if the opposite is true? What if my best ideas, my most authentic self, my clearest decisions emerge from nothingness? Because what happened, the ideas that came, the clarity that came this weekend with nothing, and when I say nothing, I wasn't doing nothing. It was just a whole lot less, 70% less of what I would have done over the weekend.
Mhm.
But
It was just not checking items off
it
the
was
list,
not.
not saying, "Okay, I completed this task, this task, this task, this task."
Yeah.
You let
There was
that
a quote
go.
there was a quote that came up in the book that I'm reading, and David perceived he was king, and he said, "If we're still trying to prove who we are, then we're still journeying to know who we are." And that hit me like a ton of bricks because I'm wondering if my productivity is me trying to prove something. I feel like I'm trying to do something, but I've never equated it to proving something. And to whom? To whom am I
Mm,
trying to prove something is the question.
right.
So I don't necessarily connect with hustle culture. I remember when I first started in entrepreneurship, I was following guys that said sleep is for suckers and you'll sleep when you die. And I think for the first couple years, probably for the first 4 years, I kind of believed that. But then my body started crashing out. I never wanted that. So what's crazy about this productivity with me is I do a lot of things, but I take a 3-mile walk to the gym. You know, I walk a mile and a half to the gym, get a little workout, and I come back. That is
What are you
great.
doing while you're walking?
Oh, I can listen to music. I'll listen to a message because it takes me a mile and a half, it takes me 30 minutes. So I'm like, if there's a 30-minute message I want to listen to on that walk, something I want to absorb in that little chunk of time. But sometimes I'm listening to music. Sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes I'm singing. Sometimes I'm just absorbing my thoughts. But I don't know, giving myself permission to do nothing wasn't trying to prove anything to anyone. It wasn't performing, but some real insights came for me. Like some things were tied together, like this thing tied to that thing and that thing tied to this thing. And I just started to see things that I probably would not have been able to see in my busyness.
It's too loud. Let's take our time. Let's not rush, take a breath. Let's not talk at once.
You needed time to let your mind rest, and so you could synthesize what you had been
Mhm.
learning and then connect the dots. And I'm a really big fan of the idea of putting things on the back burner, like to not think
Mhm.
actively about them, but to place them onto the back burner and then let them marinate.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the best ideas just spring from that rest.
Yeah. I kind of saw a glimpse of that.
The thing that I would love to see you relax is if we just talk about time, because there's that rigidity that you were saying last episode you had with time. You know, when you take a weekend off, that's 2 whole days
Yeah.
that you know, quotes lost of not proactively following a schedule. But if you were to just take even 30 minutes each day, then all of those days would have added up to those 2 days. So then when we go back to the idea of balance, it almost feels like there's a belief that if something were to go off schedule, or if something were shifted, or if just there was a desire in the moment to do nothing or to abandon the rest of the day's schedule, that everything would go off the rails. You know, there wouldn't be the same success with getting the piece of land and the dream that we were talking about. I just keep thinking how much I want that for you, for to have a place of your own, because you know how to build a home, and I want to see you build a
Mhm.
home that's a permanent home. Like, a home that's for the rest of your days, where you can, have your family over and entertain and do all the things that you really thrive at. But then another part of me thinks, what could you be missing out on by staying inside kind of? You know what I was talking about, how I just feel like sometimes making a spur of the moment decision to head down to the coffee shop could result in a job, because you go out there and you show up and then somebody sees you and then you get to talking and then it turns out that they're, this type of consulting firm or whatever it is. The opportunities that can happen when you do sort of throw the schedule into the garbage and do something spur of the moment. And then I personally have an extreme attachment to wanting to see you get out there more, honestly. Because when you're home all the time, you're depriving us of the gift of who you are, and nobody's getting to benefit from your energy. So that's the thing that I would like to see. Is I know that balance is just, we were saying that ever elusive balance, and I certainly don't have it either. But to strike a balance, since this season is about community, sometimes I think a lot of the employment opportunities that could lead to having the house lie in showing up and in networking. And so I would want to see what could happen if you roll the dice and say, today I'm going to just go and sort of follow the path that I'm guided instead of the path that I laid out in Asana 3 weeks ago. How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I have to ruminate on that.
Scary. I can feel you digging your heels in. But my Asana says that at 11:30. I want you out there. I want you out there. I want all of us to be receiving the gift of your gregariousness. That's what I want.
I learned a lot, and it's interesting to kind of toy with the idea of what it would look like to have more or less of a schedule. When I say,
try new things.
I was thinking scheduling strategic lazy blocks, but that's scheduling more. But what if I scheduled less?
Yes. What could happen?
Yeah. Because then I could be available to go out and meet people. And it's funny because everything that I am doing tends to feel transactional. So it's like last weekend or 2 weekends ago, I went to a birthday party, but I made sure I was asking ahead of time if a certain person was going to be at that birthday party so that I could ask about working at the college she works at. And I don't want to feel that it's that way. I want to, I had a great time. I always have a great time at their events. So I had a great time at the party, but it was still that one little nugget of, I have to have this 7-minute conversation while I'm here. And that's checked off. Make sense?
Yeah.
So
I need to get
know.
something out of this.
Yeah. I don't know. That part, just saying that out loud feels a little bit icky.
Yeah, I get that.
We'll just see. I think this is an ongoing conversation for me for sure, because I'm dipping my toe into new territory.
And it's really helpful for me too, because believe it or not, I just really feel like I could come a lot further in your direction. Like, it would probably stress you out for you to know that this morning it was basically a flip of the coin. I was either going to make it to the gym on time to take this yoga class. Actually, that's not true. I wasn't going to make it on time. I was going to be late. But either there was going to be space for me in the yoga class and I was going to take this super intense workout yoga class, or I was going to come home and sit on the couch and watch Love Island UK for an hour and a half. It could have gone in either direction. But I left it up for the universe to decide. So
interesting.
Yeah. So I was headed there, but I had no real expectation, honestly, of making it into the class because I knew it was a full class. I knew there was a wait list. And I just didn't know whether I would arrive and I would be the last person to arrive or whether I would get to take the class. And as it ended up, there was exactly one spot left, and that spot became my spot. So if I had been, 3 minutes later, actually there was another person who came, but it was also equally okay if I had to come home and watch Love Island because that would also be fun. So it was more, I just always kind of leave it up to fate in a way, like if that's a thing where it's like, could be
Okay.
this, could be this. Either way, I hope I would find a way to fully inhabit either one. But there's a lot of just kind of open-endedness to my day, but I think that
Mhm.
that can also sometimes not serve me because of my total inability to prioritize, that if there is something that really needs to get done, like for example, yesterday I had an appointment to drop my car off at the shop. Completely forgot about it until 5 p.m. and still haven't dropped it off. And it didn't even occur to me today to put that on my list. But that's also because I
Wow.
kind of decided that I'm just not going to do it. So even though that was something that was on the list and that should have been the highest priority, I just decided like the way I'm feeling in this moment is more so that I don't want to risk not having my car on my birthday on Saturday. So I just feel like I'm just not going to do it and they're not bothering me about it. And so I'm not doing it. And it's kind of the same thing with this morning. Like if I didn't make it into the class, that would have also been fine, So, but I think I could meet you a little bit more in the middle where
Mhm.
I at least place some type of strategicness, since we're talking about strategicness. Like, so I guess what I'm trying to say is that my form of needing, like driving towards doing things on my to-do list is just a little different. Like, I almost think it maybe comes from, I don't know what it comes from. I honestly don't know if it's just social conditioning or if it's some type of low-grade anxiety that I'm not aware of, or maybe it's just also something that is kind of me. Like, I don't really like to go sit down on the couch unless the kitchen's clean and unless everything is done for the day. So, I guess what I'm saying is that I could incorporate some of your ability to be more strategic about making any plan for the day. So even if I was going to leave certain things as a twist of fate, like I could leave those things because those things are very fun for me and I like not knowing what the plan is because
Mhm.
it lands me in very fun situations often. Like, oh, I didn't expect to find myself here talking to this person, and then that's a really fun adventure and I like that type of spontaneity. I find myself in
Mhm.
those situations all the time where I'm like, "Oh, what a wonderful day. So many amazing surprises happened." You
See,
know?
that sounds fun. It sounds like when you use the word adventurous, it takes me back to youth.
Mhm.
What's crazy is I'm not enjoying my productivity.
I don't think you're not
Because
enjoying
I
it.
get my workout and because I might sit on the porch and do something that I can do outside, or I might read this chapter of this book in the backyard while I'm looking at the birds and all the critters that come in the yard. But I'm enjoying it. So I don't, if it ain't broke, why we fixing it? That's kind of where
Good
I'm at.
question.
But we'll see. Like, I'm willing to come a little bit to your side, which is adding either this. Today was one of those days. I did not know that I was going to go to the gym today because it's podcasting day. So I'm like, okay, if I get up early enough to go to the gym because it's hot this week, so it would have to happen early. If I get up early enough to be back in time to do all the things I need to do before we start recording, then I'll go. But if not, I'll relax a little bit this morning. So I do have a little bit of that either or, just not as much.
Yeah. There could never be one episode where we fully flesh out how wedded we are to our to-do list. I think this is an ongoing discussion
I
because I
agree.
think everybody kind of has this list and the things on the list might vary and the way that it's scheduled might vary, but we all have some type of to-do list tyrant that's governing our lives.
I
And I
agree.
think this is just like a to be continued because I have so much more to say, but we're also out of time.
We are. So this has been amazing, but thank you for your input and giving me something to think about. And let's get into these recipes.
Let's do it.
Okay, so today's recipe is, let's do lazy day luxury.
Love
Indulgent
breakfast.
meal that requires minimal effort but maximum enjoyment. What do you have?
Okay, so mine is nachos.
Okay, I love that.
It's so easy. Here's what I do. I just throw I prefer Tostitos, the big ones. I get the family size bag. I throw those on a big, like a cookie platter, like that type of, what are those things called? Like a sheet pan. I
Sheet pan.
throw basically a whole slew. I put like that parchment paper down and so I don't even have to clean anything. And I just put the chips on there. I shred some cheese on. Then I typically will put some type of beans. Herschel likes refried beans, so this is just a really good way to use the rest of that can that's in the refrigerator. I also really like to make just black beans with onions and jalapeno and cumin, but it has to already be in the fridge. If I don't have that in the fridge, I'm not using it.
Okay.
So it has to be just things that are already in the fridge. It's just a great way to get rid of leftovers. We always have a container of tomatoes, white onions, and bell peppers that's just chopped in a container in the fridge because we use that for everything. So basically I'll put a layer of cheese, and then if I have nothing else, like no type of beans or anything else, I'll just throw that on there, and then I'll throw another layer of cheese, and then I'll put it into the oven. I usually do 400 for 10 minutes. And then when it comes out, I throw a bunch of cilantro over the top. Now, I always serve this with salsa, sour cream, and sliced avocados. And that's how I roll.
Oh, I love that.
And actually, we've been doing Taco Bell packets lately. Like we got 100
because they're good
mild Taco Bell packets, and we're putting that on everything right now. So
they're good.
That's what it is. They're delicious. Yeah. And that's it.
That's
nachos.
awesome.
It takes like 20 minutes total. It's a really, really easy meal.
I love a good nacho.
Yeah.
I was going to do cowboy spaghetti because it's one pot.
Never heard of it. Give it to me.
Okay, so cowboy spaghetti is, I do, of course, ground beef and Italian sausage, so half and half a pound of each. I use kielbasa sausage. I use a little bit of bacon. It's meat heavy. I know it hurts you. It's meat heavy.
3 meats, yeah.
Yep, yes, ma'am. But so I have a little bit of bacon. I brown the bacon in the bottom of the Dutch oven. And then I have everything sliced. I have some onion. I have some garlic. I have some jalapeno. I have some crushed tomatoes. I have some tomato sauce, some shredded cheddar cheese. There's some garlic. There's some hot sauce. So it's seasoned really, really well. And then there's, of course, my go-to for and Italian seasoning. So I cook the bacon crispy, pull it out. I saute the kielbasa sausage till it's brown. This is each about 5 minutes. Pull it out. Now my bacon is chopped bacon. Pull it out, brown the kielbasa, pull it out, throw in my Italian sausage, brown that, pull it out, and then I go in with my ground beef. Now, I don't do the ground beef and the Italian sausage together because I actually season the ground beef, and I, of course, don't season the Italian sausage. So I put in my ground beef, and I put my go-to for on it and some Italian seasoning on that. Brown that, drain it. I go ahead and saute my onion and my jalapenos. And after that, I add the garlic because, garlic will burn. So I do that. And then I season the vegetables just a little bit with the go-to for. And then from there, I go ahead and I build everything up into the pot. So I add all my meats back in. I add the spaghetti uncooked. I add the tomatoes, the tomato sauce. And for my liquid, of course, it's beef bouillon mixed with water.
Interesting.
All the flavors are just mingling together. And then as it just comes together, once the noodles are done, I just come back and for the last 10 minutes, I dump the cheese over the top. And you're talking about something that's good. It's easy. All your prep is on the front end of just chopping your meats, chopping your vegetables, and just everything is done. But I love the idea of a one pot, and this is so good, and it's a hit. This is something I like to take when I'm going to something where you like bring a dish. Cowboy spaghetti for me is always a hit. Always a hit. People are like, I need that recipe. That's it.
Is it Parmesan cheese at the end?
I use cheddar cheese. I use cheddar cheese because it's cowboy, honey. We're going with real cheese.
Huh.
There's nothing Italian-y about this spaghetti.
Yeah.
But it is so good. It's so flavorful. And it's a hearty spaghetti and people love it.
Love that. Oh, I forgot to say on the nachos, there's also jalapenos. Because you said jalapenos and then it triggered my memory.
Yes.
So those are our luxurious lazy day recipes.
Yes, and this has been another great episode of the What's the Temp podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. Be great on purpose.
Have a great 24. Peace.
Bye.
Baby, do you love me? Hey, is it easy to hurt me? Hey. Red all night, I don't fly, bye-bye. I can cry in your eyes. See the light.